Hello and welcome to the Reporter Sports Show. We're at the fantastic £8 million National Speedway Stadium this week to talk to Belle Vue Aces bosses Adrian Smith and Mark Lemon. We've also got a roundup of all the local football news from Oldham, Glossop and Tameside. So yes, we're here at the fantastic National Speedway Stadium and I'm joined by Belle Vue Speedway CEO Adrian Smith and the Director of Speedway, Mark Lemon. Now Adrian, it's been your first year in the role. What sort of year has it been for you?
It's been a great year, but in fact 7 months, a season I suppose we call it. But you know, I'm really pleased with how things have gone. You know, the team have been great. You know, we've to make one final and we're still in, you know, a semi-final, and we're still in. Potentially got the potential for 2 other finals with the Colts. I think it's a phenomenal result under the leadership of Mark. You know, I think there's a good feeling around the business, which I'm pleased to see. I think the fans are enjoying it, which is hugely important. You know, I'd just like to see a little bit of silverware now for the efforts that everyone's put in, including our great volunteers and the people that we've got working here. So yeah, all in all, first year great. There's an awful lot to do. We're not sort of blind to that. We know we've got to continue to develop both Speedway generally and here, but a great first year.
Okay, Mark Lemon, as Adrian just said, we would like some silverware. How are preparations going for that?
Yeah, obviously that was on the agenda at the start of the season. You know, we've obviously missed out on the grand final for the Premiership, so we got knocked out in the semi-final. But we're in the Knockout Cup final, so we've got you know, obviously the semi-final is going to be raced tonight, so we'll know who our competitors are after this evening. And then in the Colts, where we're still in the semi-final with both competitions, the knockout and the grand for the grand final. So there's still plenty to play. There's 3 trophies on offer. You know, we're going for the double, but that's not going to happen now. But we can maybe get 3, hopefully 3.
Now, you were team manager. You've been sort of promoted to Director of Speedway. How's your job changed this year?
Yeah, it's evolved, you know, a little bit more. You know, working closer with Adrian, the CEO, and trying to you know establish Belle Vue back up to where it once was. But yeah, primarily I think my job is the team manager for the Aces, and I obviously oversee the Colts. So just keeping an eye on all the Speedway operations.
Now, Adrian, obviously the Belle Vue Colts and the Belle Vue Aces race here, but that's not all that we want here. What sort of things would you like to see in this fantastic facility?
Well, you're right. I mean, it's a great facility, but it's a big cost base, so we've got to develop other things. We were lucky enough that the stadium already homes the UCFB who come here, and they both use the training rooms, obviously the pitches, and do their classrooms up in a function suite. There's rugby that's played here. There's junior football on weekends. You know, unfortunately, if you've got a big stadium, you can't just rely on one income from one sport. So it has to be a bit multi-user, which gives challenges in terms of fitting it around. Like all sports, you've got to fit everything in. But without it, you know, it would be a big cost base just for Speedway to support alone. But there's not more I think we can do. Other uses that we've got, function room use and things like that, and that's part of that development that I talked about. But the first 7 months, we took over in February. First 7 months has really been getting to grips with Speedway and understanding it and developing it, and making sure that we can build a sustainable model around that. And I think we've certainly got a better view and understanding of Speedway now. There's a few challenges which we've still got to get on top of. The fan experience has got to continue to improve. The fans are enjoying it, but there's things that fans feed back to us and say this could be better, that could be better, and we don't just ignore those. We're taking them on board and seeing what we can do to change. So there's a lot that we got to do with the Speedway, and I think and also in developing what goes on here on these centre pitches as well.
Okay, now last Friday, like you say, it was a fantastic experience. There was packed grandstand.
Yeah.
For anyone that wasn't lucky enough to be here, so what did they miss?
What did they miss? Oh, they missed one of the most exciting nights I've seen in Speedway. But then again, I've only been in it this season. But trust me, it was exciting and heart-stopping at times. We got so close, didn't we? And it was.
Well, maybe Mark will be able to tell us just how close did we get, Mark?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was the highs and the lows of sport. Obviously we lost out on aggregate by 1 solitary point, and Heat 13 was significant in both Belle Vue Aces campaign and obviously Wolverhampton's campaign too, because they lost they had an injury to their number one rider, and we had an exclusion, which probably was we could put it down to that. That's what made us didn't qualify for the grand final. So very significant. Obviously the fans were very much on the edge of their seats. So it was a fantastic night of Speedway, and I think everyone went home, even though they were disappointed with not making the grand final. They certainly they enjoyed their evening.
Absolutely. I know this season isn't finished yet, but planning must be underway in earnest for next season. Is there anything you can let us in on, or have you fielded many calls?
There's a lot of interest. Obviously, this great facility and the great racetrack. There's riders that obviously would love to come and be part of the Aces. I think we've sort of recaptured that essence now with the Aces. We obviously hear of the yesteryear how great the Belle Vue Aces were, and I think in the last sort of 3 years we've built that reputation back up again. So we will look forward to next year and building another strong team like we have done.
Absolutely, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, cheers.
Well, many thanks to both Adrian and Mark. We'll start our football roundup this week by taking a look at Oldham Athletic, who made it back-to-back victories with a 2-1 victory at Portsmouth last weekend. Owen Doyle scored both goals to give Richie Wellings his second win as interim manager. Now, Mark, in the lead up to the game, Wellings said Doyle was injured, but when we saw his name on the screen, the team sheet, we were quite surprised, weren't we?
Yeah, we were. I mean, I'm sure all the 466 travelling fans that went down to Fratton Park were just as surprised, but pleasantly surprised at that. Obviously, Doyle's been on fire at the moment. He was said to be ruled out injured, however, he scored both goals in the game. Oldham won 2-1. And he actually lifted the Latics out of the relegation zone.
They said they're 466 travelling fans. I think that's a fantastic support for a team at that level.
Oldham have got great support, a great loyal band of supporters. They've gone through some tough times in recent years, not really done much of note. Hopefully, under Richie Wellings, although he's not been made permanent manager yet, if he's made permanent manager, that's a key word. Hopefully he can push them up the table. Yeah,
I mean, I think we're both in agreement that Richie Wellings has done a fantastic job. I know Clarence Seedorf was rumoured, but we just don't know any more at this time.
No, we don't know anymore whether there's going to be any investment in the club. It seems to have all gone quiet at the moment. What we do know, a report surfaced online earlier this week. Staff and players apparently haven't been paid at the club, so that is worrying. Although looking at performances on the pitch, at least that's a bright spot.
So. Great on the pitch, they beat Crewe Alexandra 1-0 on Tuesday night in the Checker Trade Trophy. Mark, it was a good win, weren't it?
Yeah, a good win. Jack Byrne, 25-yard strike, 1-0 victory. Checker Trade Trophy, I think a lot of people look at that competition and say it's a bit of a distraction, but I think when you're in Oldham's situation, picking up victories in any competition is vital.
Absolutely, well done to Oldham. Now, they have no games this week due to international call-ups. So we'll move on to the National League North now, and Curzon extended their unbeaten league run to 6 games with a 1-0 victory over Darlington last weekend. Tyrell McKenzie, was it Tyrell?
Tyrell
McKenzie, well, the youth team to a quadruple last season, scored a beautiful goal into the top left corner in the 87th minute.
Yep.
A fantastic goal.
Fantastic goal. A youthful player, and it goes to show that if you give these youth players a chance to shine on the pitch, they will come up with the goods. It was a fantastic strike. You can actually see the goal on Curzon's Twitter page. That's at Curzon Live. Fantastic strike into the top left corner. So yeah, like I said then, it's good to see that Curzon are giving youth a chance.
Now, it was confirmed on Thursday that Dan Shaw rejected an approach from Stockport. Are you surprised by that?
No, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, you've seen Connor Hampson, Matt Warburton go to Stockport last season. Warburton obviously went over summer. But like John Flanagan said online, the grass isn't always greener. A lot of fans will look at Stockport and go, yeah, massive club in this division, 3,000 spectators every single home game. But at the end of the day, they're on a level playing field with Curzon, doing the same things. And I think Curzon might finish above them this season.
Well, I think Curzon in the last 4 seasons have gone from being the lowest ranked team in Tameside to the top.
Yeah.
Whereas Stockport have suffered relegation, so I think there's only one team on the up.
It's free fall for Stockport, isn't it? I mean, I'm a Stockport fan. I've seen them go from the Championship to the National League North in the space of about 15 years. I've actually been taking a bit of stick online from the Stockport supporters, but I personally think that the club is in free fall. I think something needs to be done. Obviously went out the FA Cup on Tuesday night at FC United. Last Saturday they were up 3-0 at half time, threw it away 3-3, then they get beat against 9 men on Tuesday. I think something has to change.
Now, on Monday, Curzon were knocked out of the Manchester Premier Cup after falling to a 3-2 loss to Droylsden. Here's what Droylsden boss Dave Pace had to say following the win.
So Dave, a 3-2 victory in the Manchester Premier Cup tonight. What are your thoughts on the game?
Well, it was a run out really. It's just what we needed to get away from the league. We've not been performing well as late. and it was a break. It's just give a few lads a run out that wouldn't normally got a game. So, but I thought we handled it well. We played well for periods of the game, and a few lads tired at the end, and I just thought we deserved it, to be honest. Yeah.
So looking back on last Saturday, you salvaged the 2-2 draw against Tadcaster Albion. Wasn't at the game. What were your thoughts on it though?
Yeah, I'm just very disappointed. We didn't come out of the traps early enough, and then obviously we played into their hands. We started playing in the second half, but it's 45 minutes too late. We've just sort of dipped in form, and we've not really gotten back to the pace and the speed and the way and the flair we've been playing, and we fell foul. So it was tonight sort of, even though I'm not a great lover of the cup, to be honest, it's always been a distraction, but it's a cup that's there, and it's probably better than training, so we just, we've used it as a session, really.
You've got another cup game on Saturday. That's the FA Trophy. You're taking on Ossett Albion away from home. Do you reckon you can progress to the next round?
Well, I hope so, but I mean they've improved as well. Obviously, they've got a new manager and got some players in, so got a good result on Saturday. So it's always difficult. I mean, cup matches, it doesn't matter about the league form. It's just who wins on the day and who wants it more. At the moment, we just think we can walk on, and without the graft side of things, and without graft, you've not got anything. Doesn't matter how talented you are. If you don't put the 100% in, it's not worth anything. So we've just got to get back to working hard, and then the talent will come through again.
Cheers, Dave.
Well, this weekend does of course mark non-league day across the country, and Curzon are hosting Harrogate Town at the Tameside Stadium, while Droylsden travel to Ossett Albion. Mark, it was good to see one of the other local sides, Manchester City, sharing a non-league day tweet earlier this week.
Yeah, sharing a non-league day tweet on Twitter, giving it a bit of promotion. Of course, non-league day coincides with the international break, so I think all Premiership and Championship season ticket holders can gain reduced admission to non-league clubs. So it's a great opportunity for fans of like Manchester City, Manchester United, to go down to a local non-league club, sample what it's about, and I'm sure they'll be impressed.
So we'll move across the borough now to Ashton United, and the Robins have suffered a bit of a poor week. They were beaten 2-1 by Hensford Town in the league last weekend before they fell to defeat at Mossley in the Manchester Premier Cup. Mark, were Mossley worth the win?
Yeah, I think they were. They were reduced to 10 men in the early stages. Calvin Henson sent off after bringing down Ashton's man just outside the box. He was the last man, of course, straight red card, so that puts more misery on Mossley at the moment. But they were worth the victory. Came from behind, equalised through Rio Armadi, took their game to penalties and won 3-2. Overall, I think it was quite an impressive performance.
Now, of course, we have got to mention Ashton have been absolutely plagued by injuries this season. It's been very unlucky. Do you think that played a part?
Yeah, massively. I mean, I spoke to Simon Woodford, who we're going to hear from shortly, and he was saying it's so hard to bring in players at the moment. The squad is depleted. They've been plagued by injuries, if you said. Jody Banning's not been able to field a fully strengthened 11 since the start of the season, so that in itself speaks volumes.
Well, as Mark just said, so he did speak to Simon Woodford following the game.
So Simon, defeating the Manchester Premier Cup tonight, what's your take on the game?
Yeah, I mean, we started well. We went down to 10 men, scored a great goal, and then we just controlled the first half. I mean, we used the space quite well, just controlled it, but the second half there was no excuses for what happened. They stepped the game up, we dropped. They looked like we had one extra than them, and they've had a telling in there. It's just not good enough. I mean, I know we're short on people. We had 2 probably fit lads on the bench, but at the end of the day, you've got to step your game up. Especially teams like this, like they step their game up when they're playing teams in a league above.
How hard has it been to prepare for matches knowing you've got all these injuries?
Yeah, it's been quite difficult because we've had to change formation, put players in positions where they're not really suited. We're trying to get players in, but it's quite hard at the minute.
So you came into tonight on the back of 2 losses, I believe. What's the mood around the camp like at the moment?
It's not the best, but they're a good set of lads. They know they've done wrong. They know they've not stepped up to the plate last 3 games, and we're going to change it. Don't worry about that.
So this weekend you make the journey to Mickleover Sports. Is this a game you think you can get the 3 points from?
I think so. Yeah, away form has been really good compared to our home form. We seem to play a different way when we're away from home. Much more composed, it looks like. So we're pretty confident we can get something there.
So a dejected Simon Woodford commented on the injury problems there. In contrast, he also spoke to Peter Band, who was a bit happier.
Yeah. So Pete, a victory in the Manchester Premier Cup tonight. What's your verdict on the game?
I thought overall I think we deserved it. Obviously we lost Calden after 4 minutes. straight red. I thought the lads put a great shift in, and then we lost Cedric, and I just felt over the 90 minutes I think we just deserved to win there. I think Jody was going to play with Jody a few years ago. I thought he was just going to nick it last minute, chipping the keeper. Lucky it just went over the bar, but again they changed the keeper, and I just thought it swayed it back into our favour then.
So the sending off in the early stages, how did that affect you tactically?
I say a few times this season we've had 10 men, so we just put Mo into centre mid, and we changed it, brought McLean on, and then went 2 up front. Again, everyone put a shift in, people sat in, people went. Again, can't ask any more lads for virtually full 90 minutes with 10. Looked like you probably thought it was 11 aside, but they've grafted, so again this cup's been good to us. Just hope we can take it into the trophy on Saturday. And
you entered this game having conceded 2 goals in the previous 2 games in the 90th minute, or into stoppage time anyway. So how good was it, or how good a feeling was it to get the result tonight?
Like you say, the last 2 games have been a bit of a kick in the stomach really, because I say if you went up to 90 minutes in the Blue Hooter like doing rugby league, it'd be points. But again, a great response. We left a few out tonight. Jack Toohey, Elliott, Liam on the bench. Probably the strongest bench we've had, and it sort of proved in the end, bringing them on later on in the game. Obviously I know Jody's got a few injuries, and he's only got 12-13 players available, and me and Lloyd have to worry about ourselves instead of Ashton.
So this weekend Ashton do take on Mickleover Sports, while Mossley host Skelmersdale United in the FA Trophy. We'll take a look at Stalybridge Celtic now, who have extended their unbeaten run to 3 games. They played out a goalless stalemate with Altrincham last weekend before beating Whitby Town 3-1 on Tuesday. Mark, do you think things are finally clicking for Celtic?
Yeah, extended their unbeaten run to 3 games. Seems to be coming together now for Steve Burr's side. Obviously they've suffered a horrendous start to the season. Many thought they would be pushing for the playoffs. The complete opposite. I think they sit in 22nd position now. Hopefully they can go on a bit of a run, move up the table, but you just got to look at Tuesday's result. A 3-1 victory over Whitby, and let's not forget, I think it was the 2nd game of the season, they went over to Whitby and they were beaten 4-1, so quite the contrasting fortunes.
Progress, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's got to be about progression now. They might not reach the playoffs this season, but if they can finish in a respectable mid-place or a mid-table finish, I think that'll be alright.
Just show something. Now Liam Dickinson, he's been on fire, 7 goals in 9 games. Has he been instrumental?
Yeah, I mean, sad to say, but I think if he wasn't at the club and he'd not scored these goals, Celtic will really be struggling. They've been marooned at the foot of the table right now, so he's been a revelation at the club, and I'm sure Steve Burr is very thankful that he returned.
And unfortunately the ground move does look to be off. We spoke about that quite at length a few months ago. What can you tell us?
Well, a report or an interview surfaced online following last Saturday's game with Chairman Rob Gorski, and he basically said that the ground move is off. However, looking on the bright side of things, Bowerfold, wonderful venue, beautiful scenery.
One of the best in Tameside, let's face it.
And it does the job at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
We're talking about a club who average about 400 this season, something like that. Do you really need a modern stadium? I think the impetus should be on matters on the pitch.
Yes, well, this weekend Celtic host Matlock Town in Evo Stick Premier Division action before travelling to Marine next Tuesday. We'll move across Hyde United now, and they progressed to the next round of the FA Cup at Boston Town last weekend. Mark, they're through to the next round, but they did it the hard way. Kyle Harrison got sent off and they came from behind twice, is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So a great win for Darren Kelly's side. Matt Beadle scored a hat-trick, and we were talking about just how important Matt Beadle will be this season, and he proved his worth last weekend. And then on Tuesday night they beat Atherton Collieries 4-0 in the league. That actually extended their unbeaten run to 23 games. So taking a look at the next round in the FA Cup, Hyde have been rewarded with a tie at Scarborough Athletic. The two sides have already met this season on the opening day, and it ended 0-0.
So we'll move to Hyde United now, who progressed to the next round of the FA Cup against Boston Town last weekend. Mark, they're through to the next round, but it wasn't easy, was it? They went down to 10 men early in the game, and they had to come from behind twice.
Yep, absolutely correct. So a fantastic victory for Darren Kelly's side, doing it the hard way, but on the plus, Matt Beadle scored a hat-trick, and we said at the start of the season how important Matt Beadle would be to Hyde's chances, and he certainly proved his worth last weekend. Now, Hyde have been rewarded with a tie in the next round at Scarborough Athletic. The two sides have already met this season.
Familiar opponents.
Yeah, absolutely. Opening day, 0-0 draw, so everything's to play for. And let's not forget, if Hyde progress to the first round, they could draw a team like Portsmouth or Charlton in the first round proper. How exciting would that be?
Huge money for them.
Huge money, just as Curzon showed last season. That money's being ploughed into a new artificial surface at the Tameside Stadium. Keeps clubs going for years.
Now they extended their unbeaten run to 23. I feel like we need a ticker for the Hyde's unbeaten run that ticks over every week, because 23 games now with a 4-0 victory over Everton College. It's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. I said to you before, can they do an Arsenal and go all season unbeaten? You know what, don't put it past them, because the squad that Darren Kelly's assembled there, I think they might well do it.
Now the Tigers travel to Cleethorpes Town in the FA Trophy on Saturday. What do you foresee for them there?
Cleethorpes, very good side, were promoted last season, won their county cup as well, and also reached the FA Vars final. Were beaten by South Shields at Wembley 4-0, so that was the only disappointment of the season. They've started this season on fire. They're currently top of the Evo Stick South, so I see a very hard game for Hyde this weekend.
And now we'll go to Glossop North End, finally, who extended their unbeaten run 6 games, not quite as good as Hyde's 23, but well done Glossop. It was a 1-1 draw at Atherton Collieries last weekend. Now Mark, Glossop have won 7 of their 11 league games this season. The squad was overhauled in the summer, but it seems to have paid off, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has, and I think it needed it at Surrey Street. Obviously they missed out on the playoffs twice in succession, and I think when that's happened you do have to shake it up a bit, bring some fresh impetus to the club. So I'm happy that Paul Phillips and Steve Halford are proving the worth, and like I've said in previous weeks of the Sports Show, I fully expect Glossop to be promoted this season.
Absolutely. Now they play Tadcaster Albion in the FA Trophy this weekend.
Yeah.
Is that a competition that they're taking seriously?
I think they've got to take it seriously. They were knocked out of the FA Cup in the first round, or their first round, against Mossley. So FA Trophy doesn't bring in that much money, but at the end of the day it is extra revenue, and it still provides a chance for the club to get to Wembley. So when that's on offer, you're not going to refuse it.
And of course Tadcaster entered the game having been denied victory in the final moments at Droylsden last weekend, don't they?
Steve Hall popped up to salvage a 2-2 draw for Droylsden, so good result for the Bloods, who suffered a dip recently. But Tadcaster, I think they're 8th in the table at the moment, so it will be a tricky game, but judging off Glossop's current form, 6 games unbeaten, I'm going for a victory.
Well, that is all we've got time for this week, I'm afraid. Thank you very much to Belle Vue Speedway for letting us come and film here. But if you want to catch up more on all the latest sporting news from around Tameside, Oldham and Glossop, you can listen to the Sporting Spotlight with myself and Mark at 6 o'clock tonight.